Watch this mongoose attack a king cobra, one of the world's most feared snakes. And if that seems impressive, check this out. A mongoose versus 4 lions, and it looks utterly confident. How is it possible for an animal as small as the mongoose to pick fights with the world's most feared predators and walk away alive? Is there any animal that the mongoose respects? And what happens if they're released in the wrong place? And why has the US banned mongoose imports? Stick with me to find out. Mongooses are relatively small in size compared to the scale of their temper. The smallest species measure just 15 centimeters in length, not counting the tail, and weigh 250 grams, about the same as an apple, while the largest grow up to 60 centimeters and weigh as much as a domestic cat. It's astounding how creatures this tiny, who are also cousins of cuddly meerkats, can not only intimidate but actually kill the most dangerous snakes on the planet. But that's the mongoose's favorite pastime, and they truly enjoy it. Snakes are a delicacy for many predators, like honey badgers, mantises, otters, and even some ruthless birds. But mongooses are different. They don't just eat snakes, they relish their fear, torment them, and strip away all hope before finishing them off and sharing the meal with friends. But how can such a small animal be the hunter instead of the prey? Well, there's an explanation in the animal kingdom. Mongooses are one of only 4 known species whose bodies can resist even the most potent venom. Neither black mamba nor king cobra venom can make this little beast feel the slightest dizziness or discomfort. Here's why. Snake venom paralyzes prey by attacking the nervous system and blocking communication between nerves and tissues, rendering victims immobile. But mongooses have a special resistance. Their tissues block the venom's entry. So a king cobra bite with enough venom to kill 40 adult men would only piss off a mongoose for disrespecting it. Don't think this immunity was just nature's whim, though. The ancestors of mongooses loved hunting snakes, so nature had no choice but to give them absurd venom resistance. But that's not all that makes them snake hunting masters. Beyond toxin immunity, mongooses have insane speed and reflexes, making it nearly impossible for snakes to even land a hit, plus exceptional street fighting skills. Here's the proof. Watch this dwarf mongoose attack a snake 6 times heavier than itself, and it's winning. Can you imagine fighting someone 6 times your weight? Of course not, because we're not mongooses. These little beasts are packed with bravery, pride, and perseverance. I'm serious, these animals will do whatever it takes to get what they want. If they spot a snake that looks tasty, they'll chase it wherever it goes. They'll climb trees if needed because they're not just agile, they also have razor-sharp claws and teeth hard as steel. They scale trees with terrifying ease. So if you're a snake, don't think you're safe just because you're a few feet off the ground. Nothing stops them. Not aggression, not venom, not even a tree. They're disciplined. If they crave snake, they'll get it, sooner or later. But if you think they only fight snakes, you're dead wrong. These 4-legged troublemakers would take on a creature the size of a car without a second thought. Or, better yet, 4 at once, like in this video of a mongoose surrounded by 4 hesitant lions. As you can see, the mongoose doesn't show a shred of fear. And if they're scary alone, imagine them in a pack. They group up, cover each other, bare their fangs, and constantly shift positions to guard every flank. A single mongoose can easily intimidate a lone canine. After all, prey that acts like the hunter doesn't seem very appetizing. They're so reckless that even with their pack nearby, they sometimes fight alone just to prove their courage. Watch how their comrades cheer them on, even placing bets on the winner. They're a real force to reckon with. But it's not all fights and hunting. Despite their reputation, they're surprisingly civilized and calm within their packs. Mongooses are deeply social with their families. They live in tight-knit, lifelong groups. Unlike lions, there's no strict hierarchy, just respect for the elders. Shockingly, these groups have minimal conflict. They sleep and eat together like the most refined creatures on Earth. Even births are synchronized. The whole gang raises the babies like siblings, feeding, guarding, and caring for the young together. It's like a union with tails. But this unity only applies to their own pack. Mongooses from rival groups are mortal enemies. Each pack defends its territory with claws and teeth, and clashes always leave casualties. As we've seen, mongooses aren't cowards. Battles can last hours, ending only when one side wins or both retreat exhausted. They line up face-to-face in battle formations before lunging in to attack. Some get injured or even killed. But while some fight, males and females from rival packs mate. Got to avoid inbreeding somehow, so they war and reproduce simultaneously. All the fun in one place. It's like a battlefield with love in the middle. But what happens when they don't arrive in another territory voluntarily, but are instead taken by a species they can't fight against? Humans. When people discovered that there was a small animal capable of killing the most venomous snakes, doing it almost for fun, and was completely harmless to the population, they thought its introduction would be a total success. However, as we all know, introducing a new species to a different ecosystem can only end in two ways: with the death of the introduced species or in a total ecological disaster. And since we all know that mongooses are not easy to kill at all, this could only end in the second way: disaster. Let's look at some examples. It's the 19th century in Hawaii. The first sugarcane plantations arrived, and with them came rats, destroying crops and causing losses. Faced with this problem, people thought, let's introduce mongooses. They eat rats, so it must be a good idea. And it was, at least at first, as reports showed a decline in the number of rats and insects attacking the sugarcane plantations. The problem was that they didn't stop there. The mongooses also attacked local birds that weren't accustomed to mammalian predators. They ate sea turtle eggs and wreaked havoc on all kinds of animals. Anything they could eat, they attacked, regardless of whether it was endangered or an endemic species. They just wanted to eat and reproduce. And this isn't the only story. Similar things have happened in several South American countries where the use of mongooses has been disastrous for local wildlife. At least in those cases, their goal was partially achieved. However, in Okinawa, it was completely different. They were having problems with snakes attacking the population, so they decided to bring in the best snake hunter on the planet, the mongoose. The problem was that mongooses are active during the day, and the snakes they wanted to eliminate had a nocturnal lifestyle, so they almost never crossed paths. As a result, the number of snakes didn't decrease, but the number of mongooses did increase rapidly. The ones who suffered the most were the Okinawan rails, an endemic species that is now on the brink of extinction because of the mongooses. And even though authorities are doing everything they can to control them, it's nearly impossible. Luckily, these cases served as a lesson for other countries, like New Zealand, the country where any species of mongoose is banned. This is for two main reasons. One, there are many species that would suffer if such an active and ruthless hunter like the mongoose were introduced. And two, there are almost no snakes, so the mongoose wouldn't like it there anyway. But it's not the only country where they're prohibited. In the US, importing them is illegal. Even the most well-behaved mongoose can't enter the country. This is because even the most adorable mongoose is almost impossible to domesticate. Their temperament can't be fixed, and if they want to fight, they'll find it anywhere, even against a house cat or a dog 10 times their size. Mongooses don't know fear. It wouldn't surprise me if they even attacked children. These little animals are dangerous. After everything we've seen about mongooses, You'd think it's impossible for them to get along with any other animal, but incredibly, they can. There are cases where mongooses form mutually beneficial contracts with other animals. Drongos, for example, are lookout birds that warn the mongoose if a snake or other threat is nearby, so it can escape. Though, of course, we all know the mongoose won't run away, it's going for its dinner. In return, the mongoose digs up the ground so drongos can eat insects. Warthogs are another example. They lie down and let mongooses eat all the parasites on their bodies, like ticks and fleas. The warthog gets cleaned and the mongoose gets a meal. There are even extraordinary cases where mongooses help meerkats dealing with snake problems. Maybe it's because there's a little kindness in them after all. Or maybe they just really feel like eating a snake. We'll never know. Remember, never challenge a mongoose to a fight unless you want trouble. See you later.